My BF works as a gigging musician but has had barely any gigs in the off-season. I've been with him for almost a year, and in the beginning of our relationship I didn't have a job or any money because of mental health issues, and he never once said anything about my lack of job. I was having issues with my mother, who I was living with, and she threatened to kick me out because I came home at 11 p.m. one night. He let me come stay with him and we fell in love very fast, and that was that. He was making enough money for both of us to just survive in the summer, and I was driving him to all his gigs because my BF's dad took his car when he got his license suspended. For the last few months he basically has been making no money in the off-season. I've been working a retail job for the past 4 months and been more or less supporting us both and paying both halves of our rent on very little income with the help of my mother. I have a complicated relationship with my mother and I do not ever want her financial help anymore. Also, when she wants me to do things for her in return, my BF will get mad that I'm going to her house on my days off work. My BF claims it is impossible for him to get a side job because he doesn't have his car anymore. His license was suspended over a year ago and then his dad took his car. I was the one driving my BF to all of his gigs for our entire relationship, trying to help him save his money to get his car back. He still doesn't have his car or his license, and claims that's why he can't make enough money right now, but I told him he could get a job walking distance from us to do while he has so much free time in the off-season, and that I would probably be able to drive him to work sometimes also. He says it's too cold outside to walk to a job. He basically said he doesn't care and that everything is fine because we have a roof over our head and food. Resentment has built up for me because I drive him everywhere, and sometimes he will spend what money he does have on beer or weed or junk at thrift stores when he's not making enough money to spend on anything like that, but he isn't interested in creating new opportunities for himself. He has never been rich at all, and I don't expect that. I expect us to at least be able to afford our own food and half of the rent. He says he can't make more money until he gets his car back, but it is obvious that he's not going to be able to pay car insurance or for the one-day driver class to get his license unsuspended unless he makes money first. I really do love this person, but whenever I voice my opinion on how he needs to get a part-time job somewhere, he shuts it down and just blames everything on how he doesn't have his car. He's very depressed about it, but he needs to turn that into motivation to get himself out of this situation by working, even if it's difficult or something he's not passionate about. I've tried talking to him about it and he will just say I'm being mean to him. I really don't know what to do. I am conflicted because I used to struggle with keeping jobs myself and was reliant on my mother, and my BF never said anything about how I used to not have a job. My BF's family does not give him any support whatsoever, and I don't know how long I can be okay with the situation we're in. We've had other issues in the past and gotten through them, but I don't know what to do about this. He's the one who needs to be doing something about it, not me, but if nothing gets better, I feel like I can never leave because he'd have nowhere to go. I am conflicted because I used to leech off my mother when I didn't have a job, so I understand how hard it is to make yourself keep a job, and he's been trying to make it as a musician his entire life, and he is truly talented. I feel like I will end up being the one to pay for his $400 one-day driver class and then for his car insurance, but I have a feeling he still won't get a side job even if he gets his car back. Either way, he doesn't have any family support, and the friends that he used to rent from are having their own living situation issues right now, and I don't know where else he would be able to go if I left. I am completely lost. I don't want to have to leave, I just want things to be better, and I don't want to be in a codependent relationship anymore. TLDR, I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend, a gigging musician, for almost a year. Initially, he supported both of us in the summer, but in the off-season, he's struggled financially, leading me to pay for most of our living expenses with a retail job. My boyfriend claims he can't get a side job because his car was taken due to a suspended license, but I feel he's not trying to find other solutions, like walking to a nearby job. I'm frustrated that he spends money on things like beer and weed instead of saving, and that he refuses to seek more stable work, blaming his lack of a car. I'm emotionally conflicted because I understand his struggles, having been in a similar position with my mother before, but I'm growing resentful and feel trapped in a codependent relationship. I'm torn between wanting to leave for my own well-being and not wanting to abandon him since he has no support network. Ultimately, I want him to take responsibility for his situation and help improve things, but I'm unsure how much longer I can continue living this way. My 32F boyfriend, 33M, has a lot of insecurities that he's working through. How can I help support him? My boyfriend, 33M, and I, 32F, have been together just nearly 4 months. I truly find him to be an amazing man who meets my needs in all the ways I've voiced to him and beyond. He says I do the same for him. I am proud to know him and have him in my life. Since the beginning of our relationship, he was upfront with me and said he can be a jealous boyfriend. It worried me, but I haven't seen any red flags. I recognize there is still a lot to learn and grow as a couple. He verbalized that he recognizes this as something he needs to work on. The only time I've really seen anything that made me stop and think are questions and scenarios. What would you do? He will pose and we discuss. Some of these are pretty insightful into his perspective on life, and I don't agree with all of them. We always talk through and voice any disagreements to understand each other as well as how we can compromise. Just the other day, we were talking about weddings we've been to and been in. He's only been to, never in, a total of maybe 3 weddings. I think 2 were courthouse weddings, so non-traditional. I've been to about 10 traditional weddings, 4 of which I was a bridesmaid. My boyfriend posed a hypothetical scenario asking if I have a friend getting married asked me to be a bridesmaid, would I walk down the aisle with the groomsmen or would I request the bride/groom that I walk down with him, my boyfriend? He said it would make him uncomfortable seeing me walk down the aisle with another man and do all the rehearsals with the person I'd be walking down the aisle with. I told him that someone else's wedding is out of my control and that I don't see it as disrespectful to him to walk down an aisle for 30 seconds. I did say that if a groomsman ever made me uncomfortable or is by some off chance my ex, in these scenarios I would not walk down with them. I told him I'd have boundaries with the person such as I'm not looking to bond with them or physically touch the person, including holding their arm down the aisle, but if a friend or one of my future sister-in-laws asked me to walk down the aisle with a groomsman, I will. My boyfriend seemed to be disappointed in my answer. I'm wondering if part of his reaction is also his inexperience with weddings, but he also admitted that his reaction stems from insecurity. We haven't discussed this scenario further, but it did make me a bit uncertain. My question is, how can I be a supportive girlfriend while he figures this out? I obviously am not perfect and have room for growth. Am I being unreasonable or selfish? Either way, my boyfriend seems to want to grow through his insecurities and recognizes it as a fault. I want him to know I'm not just going to give up on him/us and am going to stay even while he learns and grows through this. I also want to make sure I'm being realistic here as well, and that if he continues to show these qualities that align with potentially controlling habits, I want no part in it and that growth will have to happen, probably apart from me. Thank you for any insight/perspective. AITA for telling my husband I don't want to watch football with him anymore. My husband, 28M, and I, 32F, have been together about 2.5 years. He has always been a big NFL fan and has recently started getting more into college football. This man is kind, thoughtful, and very positive, all traits that attracted me to him and made me so very happy to marry him. But he is not the same person when he watches a football game he cares about. My husband does not drink alcohol, and I'm very grateful for that. He has one NFL team and one college team he cares about. When any other teams are playing, his reactions are mild. But when his teams are playing, he becomes this negative, angry person I don't recognize. He will loudly hit things with his hands, the chair, the wall, the car if we're driving, swear, yell personal and insulting comments at the TV, and be in an overall foul mood. Even if his team is winning, simple mistakes will result in a negative outburst from him. I've never been afraid of him, even during his outbursts, but I definitely don't want to be around it. And I think his pessimism and negativity during games is starting to change how I view him. I love football and I want to watch the games with him, but it's just not fun anymore. I chuckled the other day after a ridiculous mistake resulted in a turnover that meant our team would probably lose the game, and he got mad at me for laughing. I wasn't laughing because we were going to lose, I was laughing because of how ridiculous the mistake was. Meanwhile, he was yelling at the player and calling him an idiot, saying how he shouldn't play football anymore. And somehow I'm wrong? I know my husband really wants me to watch the games with him. He's told me many times that he feels so lucky to have found a wife who loves football and will watch the games with him. Watching football used to be fun, but it's not fun when I watch our favorite teams with my husband. AITA for telling my husband I don't want to watch football with him anymore?